Not every novelist or playwright failed when they went to Hollywood. Some of the greatest writers in history didn't just survive the jump from page to screen. They created scripts that became movie masterpieces. And some of these names may surprise you. Before we dive into today's stories of legendary writers who made cinema magic, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our deep dives into movie history. And while you're at it, let us know in the comments, which novelist or playwright do you think wrote the greatest screenplay ever? Yes, William Faulkner, Nobel Prize-winning author of The Sound and the Fury. Believe it or not, he worked in Hollywood as a contract writer. Unlike many literary giants who struggled in Hollywood, Faulkner found his stride when paired with the right collaborators. One shining example is To Have and Have Not, 1944, directed by Howard Hawks and based on Ernest Hemingway's novel. Faulkner, working alongside Jules Furthman, helped shape the screenplay into something far more iconic than the source material suggested. His gift for dialogue, character nuance, and atmosphere perfectly complemented Hawks' sense of rhythm and storytelling. The result was not just a wartime thriller, but one of the great screen romances in film history, with Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall's legendary chemistry brought to life through lines that have since become classics. In Hawks, Faulkner found a director who understood how to harness his literary sensibility for the screen, and together they created pure Hollywood magic. He also helped write The Big Sleep, a movie so confusing that even the filmmakers admitted they didn't know who killed one of the characters. But despite the chaos, the film became a noir classic. So how does a highbrow literary genius end up writing Bogart and Bacall's sizzling dialogue? That's Hollywood magic. If Faulkner's scripts were confusing, Chandler's were razor sharp. He co-wrote Double Indemnity with Billy Wilder, delivering some of the coldest, most cutting dialogue in film history. And here's a fun question. Was there ever a more dangerous femme fatale than Barbara Stanwyck in that film? Probably not. And speaking of danger, enter Graham Greene. He didn't just write novels full of moral tension. He wrote The Third Man, often called the greatest British film ever made. That Ferris wheel scene with Orson Welles as Harry Lime? Pure cinema history. But don't leave yet, because Greene also tackled St. Joan, adapting George Bernard Shaw, proving he could go from intrigue to sacred drama. Now, let's turn up the heat. Tennessee Williams brought raw emotion to the big screen with a Streetcar named Desire. Marlon Brando yelling Stella is one of the most famous moments in movie history. And here's the hook. His plays didn't just survive the transition to film. They became even more powerful with Hollywood star power. But not all success stories were glamorous. Arthur Miller wrote The Misfits, a film that turned out to be the swan song of both Marilyn Monroe and Clark Gable. It's haunting, tragic, and unforgettable. And here's the heartbreaking part. It was written by Monroe's husband, for Monroe, and ended up being her last completed film. If Miller gave us tragedy, Steinbeck gave us revolution. His screenplay, Viva Zapata, starred Marlon Brando as the Mexican revolutionary, blending politics with raw human drama. It's bold, it's powerful, and it's exactly what you'd expect from Steinbeck. Want sharp dialogue and ruthless family drama? Lillian Hellman's The Little Foxes gave us Bette Davis at her most deliciously cruel. It's proof that some plays don't lose an ounce of their bite when adapted for the screen. Now here's a twist. A writer who adapted his own play into one of the greatest films ever made. Peter Shaffer's Amadeus is witty, tragic, and larger than life, and it swept the Oscars. So let me ask you, was it really about Mozart, or was it all about Salieri? Tom Stoppard is one of the most versatile on this list. Forget Shakespeare in Love for a moment. He co-wrote Terry Gilliam's Brazil, one of the most imaginative dystopias ever filmed. He adapted J.G. Ballard's Empire of the Sun for Spielberg, and even tackled Graham Greene's Cold War novel, The Human Factor. If you thought playwrights couldn't handle cinema, Stoppard proved otherwise. Now for something grittier. Richard Price, master of urban dialogue, wrote The Color of Money for Scorsese and gave Paul Newman the role that finally won him his Oscar. Then came Sea of Love with Al Pacino and Mad Dog and Glory, pairing Robert De Niro and Bill Murray in a bizarre crime romance mix. Price is one of the few novelists whose dialogue feels even sharper on film than on the page. And finally, Stephen King. We've seen how his novels inspired classics like The Shining, Misery, and Stand By Me. But here's the twist. King himself didn't actually write those screenplays. In fact, the one time he took full control with Maximum Overdrive, the result was, let's just say, less than legendary. Which goes to show, sometimes the greatest service a writer can do for cinema is simply to hand over the keys and let skilled filmmakers adapt their words for the screen. Because in King's case, it wasn't his screenwriting that made movie history, but the raw power of his stories. Because even a writer who failed as a filmmaker became one of the most influential storytellers in movie history. So there you have it. Not every writer crashed in Hollywood. Some gave us timeless films that still shine today. But now it's your turn. Which of these writers impressed you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get the conversation going. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from the world of cinema. And want to know which legendary authors also wrote terrible scripts that almost ruined their careers? Check out our other video, where some brilliant minds gave us some of cinema's worst disasters.